Just kidding, it's not B-roll. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be episode number 2 of the rig walk around. Now, today is kind of like the next steps after you do your lift wheels and tires. Most people usually go for a roof rack and or a bed rack. So what we're going to do is talk about these two racks that I have here, and the ones I've had in the past, obviously, and why these are better than almost anything you can get on the market. Now, I've had the Prinsu. It's all hype. Don't buy into it. And I'm going to show you why this AL off-road roof rack is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times better than the Prinsu, from the way it mounts to the crossbars to the way it looks, the wind noise, everything. Also with the bed rack, I'm going to show you how customizable it is, how modular it is, how you can mount just about anything you want to it. You can configure it any way you want. You can have specific MOLLE panels in specific areas of the rack, everything. Let's dive in. All right, let's start with the roof rack. So specifically the AL off-road roof rack. One of the main reasons I love this rack is because if you compare it like side by side to the Prinsu, it's honestly just not even fair. The Prinsu has a 2" by 1" crossbar, whereas the AL off-road roof rack has a 3" by 1.5" crossbar. Now the rack comes standard with 6 crossbars, your choice of a fairing, so standard fairing, 40" cutout standard fairing, universal fairing, or an array, dark defense array cutout fairing. But the really nice thing about this rack is specifically the way it mounts, not just the beefy crossbars. Now, while we're on crossbars, the Prinsu uses a 1/4" carriage bolt for the channel slots. The AL off-road roof rack and the crossbars use a 3/8" carriage bolt to mount stuff to the rack. So not only do you have a bigger crossbar with more surface area, it's a lot thicker, stronger, but you're also using larger carriage bolts to mount stuff to the rack itself, meaning your mounting solution is actually more secure and stable as well. With that being said, I'm going to show you these crossbars, and then we're going to dive into how this rack actually mounts to the truck. And I'll kind of explain to you how this is different from the Prinsu as well. Again, I've had the Prinsu, wasn't a fan of it. The way it mounts, the way it is just not, it's not ideal. Let's go with crossbars. So you can see that these crossbars are actually pretty darn large. Now, when I took off my my Prinsu rack, these bars were as thick as one Prinsu bar going this way and another one butted up to it going this way. So it's 1.5 times the size of the Prinsu crossbars. Now they're using stainless steel hardware, so the hardware is really nice. You have dual channels on both sides, on the front as well. It's where I've mounted my Morimoto light setup here with the 40" standard cutout. Again, this rack comes with 6 of these beefy crossbars. I'm not worried about anything on here. Like, I can stand on this rack with my boxes and everything on here. Don't have to worry about it whatsoever. Now, let's talk about the mounting solution. So one of the big advantages that this rack has over Prinsu specifically is that 3 of these crossbars, so 3 of these 3" by 1.5" extrusion crossbars are physically mounted to the roof of the truck. Whereas, like for instance, the Prinsu, this outer is mounted to the truck, and then the crossbars are bolted in to this thin outer piece of the rack. Now, what that does is anything you put on top of the Prinsu, those load bars are basically supported by these 2 bolts, and that's it, right? With this rack, you probably can't see it under there. I'll have to get a different shot of it, but you have a bracket here that's mounted to the truck, a bracket here that's mounted to the truck, and a bracket here that's mounted to the truck. Each one of these crossbars is then bolted on, so 2 bolts on each side hold each one of these crossbars into the rack, right? From there, you've got 1, 2 regular size crossbars that are just on the outside, and then the back smaller one, which you don't really mount stuff to. I have a SureCall signal booster up there, but other than that, they're not really made for heavy load. I believe this rack has a dynamic load of 400 pounds and a static of 600, 650. It's honestly stronger than the roof, so you don't have to worry about anything. But you can see how this mounting solution is so much better, physically mounting 3 of these crossbars to the truck and then putting this outer piece, which is going to be the weakest point, to the truck. The wind fairing, 2 bolts each side, just bolts right on, and you can kind of see it here, but it curves to the truck, right? So as you tighten these 2 bolts, this wind fairing actually contours and matches the roof's curve, so it's nice and tight all the way across. You have very minimal to like no wind noise with this rack. So not only is it stronger, it's quieter, it's a lower profile, but it's just an absolute beast of a rack. I think you guys can see why I love this rack. And this is one of the reasons you do a roof rack, right? Is you want to be able to put lights on it. You want to be able to put cases on it, storage solutions, awnings, shovels on another side, whatever you want to do. That's what your roof rack's for, right? Some people like it for the aesthetic look. That's fine. But if you're going to get a rack to actually use it, get the AL Off-Road roof rack. I have the HD version. They have an Onyx or OG, I think. But I'm going to link it down below in the description. You guys can click there. Promo code TheDarkYota will save you 10%. Before I go to the bed rack, there's one more thing I almost forgot to mention to you guys about this roof rack. Now, they use stainless steel hardware. The design is amazing. The crossbars are durable as hell. They're strong as hell. But let me turn this around so I can show you guys real quick. So there's 10 little like cutouts. You guys can see them right there. So these guys right here, there's 10 along each side. And what those are gonna do, let me bring this down a little bit. What those are gonna do is give you basically a mounting point. So when we put our paddleboard up on the cases, we use ratchet straps and we use those as our anchor points to then ratchet them down. Now, AL has things like awning brackets, and they have lights and handles and all sorts of different stuff that you can mount to the side of these racks to make getting up easier, to make camping easier, and honestly, the awning is really, really nice to have, and they make the brackets for that too. Now, let's go into the bed rack. So here is the bed rack. It is Xtrusionoverland. This is by far, don't mind the mess in the bed, just put the deck in. This is by far my favorite bed rack that I have ever ran and that I have ever seen. Now, the cool thing about these guys is they use all extrusion, right? The name, Xtrusionoverland. But this thing is absolutely solid. They also make these offset brackets that go on the back and the front of the rack. So with the Tacomas, the rail that these mount into stops right about here. Most racks go from here straight up. You can kind of see where my old rack was and how much space I've got further back, and the same with up front. Now, what this will do is give you more rack real estate to actually mount stuff to, such as your tent. Now, if you look at my tent, it fits like a dang glove. I have no overhang. Everything is secure. But let's talk about mounting solutions. Because these are extrusion, they can literally mount anything you can mount to an extrusion bar to your bed rack. Now, they make molly panels like this in a single plate, right? So this plate is this big. And the reason they do that is because most other racks have a fixed molly panel on the side of the rack where you have no say of how long it is. You don't have a say of how tall it is, where you can mount those. These guys decided that making one single molly panel plate and being able to mount it anywhere on the bed rack was the way to go. And I 100% agree. It's fantastic. I could take this one off and just run this one for my fire extinguisher. I have none on this side for my water port. This water port is mounted straight into the extrusion here. The shovel, like I said, you can mount these mollies anywhere you want. So I mounted one underneath the bed rack there and one underneath the bed rack over there. So the shovel goes across. Go to the other side. I didn't have to use any molly panels for my action tracks to be mounted. Again, mounted them straight into the extrusion. Now, these are as custom as you want them to be. For instance, if you wanted something like mine that's a certain height, certain length, or even a certain number of uprights, they can do that. So for my rack, if you guys wanting the same thing as mine, it's a 14-inch with 3 uprights. I believe I got 8 molly panels. I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Yeah, it's 14 inches high with 3 uprights, and you can see you can mount anything you want to this rack. Now, they do have a lot of cool options, which I am going to show you guys. We're actually going to be installing one of them August 25th at the Loveland Overland Expo. So if you guys come by the booth in the morning for Loveland, you'll see us installing one of the features. So one of those features that we're going to be doing is a full slide out. So the slide out runs the entire width of the bed, and it pulls out 2/3 the length of the bed. So basically what it'll do is it'll sit right above the bedside here. It'll slide out 2/3 of the length of the bed, and you can mount boxes or whatever you want to it, but that way you're not climbing into your bed to reach for stuff. It's all coming to you, right? You can even mount a hammock to the back of that slide if you want to hang a hammock off the back of your truck. They've also got things that'll basically make it so what I'm probably end up doing is putting a slider underneath here and putting a slider on underneath here, and mount the shovel and the action tracks to those. Can have a bike, they have a bike mount on that side. Basically you put the slider here for your shovel or your action tracks, release the slider, pull it out, and now your shovel is out here for you. What I'm going to be doing is something kind of custom to where it's going to be half the length of the bed for my slide out, and then on the inside they've got the molly panels. They just made them to where this whole system, so this plate will be one piece of extrusion with the molly panels, and it's on a gas strut. So you release it and this opens up, and now you have access to the inside of your bed. Or you can build a storage container, so you pop this up out of your way, and then you have your storage for like your propane, your straps, whatever you need, recovery gear, it's all right there for you. So as you guys can see, there's a lot that you can do with these racks. There's not a rack that comes anywhere near as close to these things as far as customizability, modularity. I mean, the look is, they look absolutely phenomenal. I'll get some pictures if you guys want to check out my Instagram. I'll have some pictures on there for you, but yeah, you can't beat these racks. Both companies, 100% made in the USA. AL Off-Road is in Texas, and these guys, Xtrusionoverland, is in Wichita, Kansas. So they make all their stuff. They cut them certain lengths, whatever you guys want. But yeah, both items, 100% made in the USA. I'll link them both down below so you guys can check both of them out. Promo code TheDarkYota does save you 10% for both of these racks. I hope that helps you guys. I hope you see the benefit of, you know, having these systems compared to some of the other cheaper options out there, like the Prinsu, like the Cali Rays LED. I had the Cali Rays LED bed rack before this one. Doesn't even come close. You've got a fixed molly panel. You only have, I think it was 2 or 3 height options, low, mid, and high. These guys, you could literally do 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 10, all the way up to full height rack. They've also got, I almost forgot, they also have custom brackets. So if you guys have a retracts cover or a rolling cover, as long as it's not a trifold, they have a bracket that works for that and fits over that fold or that cover, as well as soft toppers. They make brackets that go up and over your soft topper. So you can have your soft topper, put your rack over the top of it, mount all your stuff to the sides, put your tent on top, whatever you guys want to do. They do it all. I hope that helps you guys make your decision on roof racks and bed racks, but that's what I'm running on my truck. That's why I'm running these things on my truck. I think there's no comparison, but you guys can be the judge of that. I'm just putting my 2 cents in. If you guys like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bells for notifications for more videos like this. Next episode is probably going to be my light setup, and then we'll just kind of keep going from there, right? How to fit 35s correctly, why you should do big brakes when you do big tires, why are gears important, all that different stuff. Those videos are all going to be coming up soon, but until next time, guys, peace.